Welcome, everyone, to the 311th weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. Somehow, it is already February 15th, and we're somehow still live.
Whoa.
I don't know. We got a host of interesting characters here. About 500 Celestias.
They're so big.
Oh, goodness gracious.
We got a Zai.
Hello.
We got a Pixie.
Help.
There's an Aliclaw.
He's buried in Celestius.
Oh, hello.
There's a Vex.
Hello.
And somewhere in the background, there might be a CPC fluffing things.
What are we doing today?
Well, today we're doing horses. As always, horses. And even more horses.
What a surprise.
Yep, I run the glue factory,
What
so
are we
here we
doing to the
go.
horses? Are we letting them loose on our screens?
Critique. Mostly critique. Sometimes it's
Oh, that's
adding
neat.
mustaches and knives, but usually critique.
LLD, once again, I'm going to have to drag your layer to the bottom. Thank you.
What? Why would you do that to me?
So we can draw on top of it.
What stream number
They
is
make
it?
noise?
311. Yes, they
Yeah,
make
they'll, like,
noise too.
Physically talk to you.
I was like, Spike? What?
Hey, just going crazy here. Alright, so our first one submitted is by Embroidered Equations. You might know them from such locations as here. And here.
Hell yeah.
The little pony just running across the feet. Okay. Embroidered Equations. Tossing here for the stream, otherwise I'll forget. Messed around with the shading and ended up trying out a different style for it. Mainly just after some feedback with that, as well as the flow and folds of the clothes. Your shading's funky. Funkadelic, even.
Yeah, I love
Very
this.
texture.
It's very clear that a lot of work has gone into this.
Mm-hmm.
So after some feedback with the shading and the flow and folds of the clothes, I think the flow works pretty well. Like it, especially with these legs doing what they do and having like these like big things at the thing, it kind of makes the weight distribution feel nice. So I think in terms of like the flow and the weight and all that sort of stuff, it feels pretty good. In terms of folds, I'm not that good at folds. They're hard and strange and weird. But I think they get the job done alright. It could be
The
good
whole,
to
like I was just gonna say, like the black and blue like highlights make me think of that scene from The Force Awakens. I love having that sort of dynamic lighting.
it makes me want to chuck on some 3D glasses.
The few strands that are sitting around the middle of the head, where they have both the blue and the red on, well, it makes sense to an extent. It also doesn't make sense because none of the hair, like, they just pop right out, and everything directly beneath it doesn't get anything from that. And generally, unless if the hair is dense, like you've been doing a lot of dye jobs or a lot of gelling jobs, likely you're gonna still get some light through there. So what I'm saying is just adding a bit of that color into some highlights across the body of that mane down beneath it might be beneficial to keeping that flow going.
Mm.
I think it would more show up with the blue based on the angle of it. The fact that we're hitting areas like up on top of the glove here, or hoofed glove.
Mm.
It makes sense if we're able to hit that and hit the inside of this horn, we should be able to also be hitting the most of that hair.
Hell yeah.
There's some good folds going on.
Are they?
Yeah.
The Z on the face is Harry Potter, right? That's the only person with a Z mark can ever be Harry Potter.
I think it's trying to be like a little fluff. Yeah.
a little bit of like just that blue color, like shining on the face. Little tiny bit.
That was Pixie's mark.
Yep, that's how it
I'm
happens.
critiquing some doodle he left behind.
Exactly. So some amazing artist is doing this.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
putting those in there.
so with the folds and all that sort of stuff, it would be good to focus on the overall kind of shape of it. Like you see how X is doing here. It's like you've got
You're
these
real
like
robotic pics.
Still okay, me.
Oh,
Oh, you're both robots.
yep,
Mhm.
both of them.
Oh, it's Vex. Vex is the
Uh-oh.
robot.
Size of robot.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Be a robot and Zai robot also agree with me. As
Everyone's a robot. It's okay.
as I was saying, focusing on the bigger shapes will kind of really help. With the original, you've got like all of these tiny little similar kind of sized like things. Whereas when you're like looking at folds and all that sort of stuff, it's good to have like a bit of variety in terms of the size of things. Like I think the term of like the rule is like big, medium, small. So like have some like big shapes, and then some like medium sized shapes, and then some like small shapes to kind of break that up and all that kind of sort of stuff. But I don't know. Focus on the bigger shapes, and all will be well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I like whoever's adding that sort of blue haze.
Yeah, that's something I personally do in my art. Like when I'm just doing a figure and I might have an abstract background just to kind of put it somewhere. I like to consider the light sources and show it in that background as well. So you don't have to do exactly what I did and just cover it all in half. I usually play with the tools I have in my program. But you can do some sort of glow or just
I'm
something
thinking that as
to
well, actually, because you have like all the red on the side, which fits with the red highlights, but then the blue highlights kind of feel like they're. I was. You made me realize I was wondering, like, was there like an off-screen light that we're not seeing, kind of thing. So that is a good idea.
Yeah, it
Good
just helps
observation.
read the story. So the person like you can kind of get the vibe of your shadows and your shading, and it's not just out of nowhere. Um, but yeah, no, experiment with that, and you don't like I said, you don't have to do it as strong. Sometimes I'll even do like a really big airbrush and just kind of like pick a point for it to really exist, and then I'll blur the edges out, just so you get this feel. And it depends on how strongly you want that light to come. And since I'm getting like the blue is more like a secondary light, so it's still light. So it's still gonna either it depends on if you want the blue light to be stronger or the red light to be stronger. Red light stronger, then you'll want a more powerful red side. If the blue light's weaker, it's gonna be the secondary. So have it not as strong, but still as poignant. There's a thing in photography where you have your main light and your secondary light, and it might be easier to Google than to explain it all, but that's kind of how they frame a lot of portraits, and you get those kind of different edges while still having only one main light and the person not being washed out. But it might be worth looking into.
Hmm. Yeah, I've done a little bit of like the same kind of stuff on the left, kind of to like I don't know.
It does definitely help mute the background a bit, so it doesn't overtake the character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the background has a lot of contrast, a lot of different shapes and all that sort of stuff, and it really pulls the attention.
All right, shall we move on to our next lovely horse?
Yeah, amazing picture. I love it.
Is there any sort of like technique going into the folds, or was that just sort of experience? Is Vex doing that right?
We kind of already went over the sleeves.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Overlaps are good, and just messing about with references and stuff.
Look at references.
Generally, you're wearing clothes. I mean, I'm not judging either way, but generally, you could use them.
Yeah.
This picture is by Limey18, and it's Celeste OC.
Hell yeah. Love it.
I love the color scheme of this one. Having like white add like accents to character to for a number of different colors is really nice, especially when they're very warm. Real sensitive feel.
You have any
Do they have any
questions?
questions? Ha,
Uh,
jinx.
I don't see any.
I do feel like the green sort of goes a little bit against the sunsetty colors because it's you have this very like specific kind of feel going on with them being very like sunset colors, very warm, like a warm to cool fade. But then the green feels very sort of like natural and foresty, or like grass or leaves or like poison green things.
Good
I
old
don't know.
poison.
It feels like it's a different kind of color and there's not really much pulling it in. That's just me.
Yeah. It's always fun to mess with colors and stuff.
Mm.
I'm trying out some like fading the green into the main a little bit more.
Something I might recommend for a different coloring in style. I know just to get the gradient, you're gonna want to go back and forth. Let me get a different color. There we go. Yeah, you're gonna you're blocking things out, right, to get those stripes all the way up and down the wings. But you can kind of do something where you not necessarily stagger them, but you want it to flow with the direction of the wing. So to do your yellows, you can do small patches of this, here. I know I'm doing it in blue, but we'll pretend it's yellow, and then I'll switch over to purple and where your pink will be, and you do the same thing here, and they can kind of combine to give that even nicer gradient, and you have them cross over each other, and you can really get that shaded nice, and then it goes with the flow of the wing, which will help with the gradient and just the appearance of everything. It's a little consuming at times because you're really filling in those gaps, but I feel like it'll really help with the grade. Yeah, someone over here is doing it absolutely beautifully with the matching colors. It's just something to play with, a directional thing. Like it works for the legs here, right? Because the legs they flow that way. It's complementing the direction of the legs. And even something as silly as, since these have all been straight, this one has a bend. I would suggest following that bend of the leg when doing these gradients. So you'll go this way till you have to compromise and start spinning the direction. And that really complements in coloring when you follow the flow of your picture. Just so, like, because we're also feeling like this is fur, right? So if you have fur going this way randomly on the leg and you look at any kind of animal, it usually flows with the body. So it complements, comes out a little smoother, and it fits with the drawing a little bit better.
If you've got your or once you've got the sort of colors down, you can just get your finger and just like smudge to kind of create the same kind of effect, and that can be really useful.
I do really like. It looks like you've cracked out some possibly alcohol markers. This little wispy, shady green stuff.
I think that was me.
Oh,
I
was that you?
think somebody added that.
On the tail? Ah,
Yep, that was us.
sorry,
us
because
all along.
I was seeing it blend in to the bottom. I got confused.
Nah, all good.
Alcohol
Yeah,
markers would be a good investment. They can be really cheap if you don't get Copic. Just don't get Copic to start. They're really expensive.
Yeah.
We'll smash Copics. We'll yeah.
My
Throw
suggestion
Molotovs
is
at the
China.
I
Copic
had a
box.
friend in college who was super into getting Copics.
Oh, they're wonderful. The color out
Yeah,
of them. Ooh.
they're just very expensive.
Yeah.
I asked for, I had he was like, oh, they're amazing, and I asked for some for Christmas, and I got like some off-brand ones.
I could never get into alcohol markers. But watercolor things worked for me.
Yeah, same.
It's always fun to play around with different.
Yeah, trying
tools.
different things is good.
Hell yeah! You can see somebody over here has changed up where the horn is placed and changed the face shape up a little bit.
Yeah, so just something to remember with when you're drawing horses is that they do have this. Let me get a different color here. They do have this brow here that you need to remember to include, especially if you're doing this more realistic face style. So the horn will go on top of that brow, typically. I don't know what degree that is, but it goes out at an angle. It doesn't usually go straight up unless they're also kind of looking up. So something to keep in mind. Another thing about the hair is remember to look at the overall shape of it, because if I take this away here, you can kind of see that the hair up here doesn't really flow. Oh, hold on. The hair doesn't really flow with where the head would be. So at least with the top of it, you should follow the curve of the head, just so it doesn't like make the head look misshapen. So going a little bit more out than up will follow the out face of or the out shape of the face. And then down here at the bottom of the hair, these three shapes here are about the same size. I just made a good rule to keep in mind when you're doing several things that look kind of similar but need to be. It's just to like make them a little bit different. So a good rule to keep in mind is big, medium, small, like we were talking about earlier. So you do a big hair, a medium hair, and then a small hair. That'll just make the hair look a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, shall we move on to our next horse?
Heck
Sure.
yeah. Keep on drawing and chucking stuff our way.
And yeah, feel free to submit more pictures. And if you do, just it helps us to, if you can look at what exactly it is that you want to get advice on, because then we know how to help you the best.
We like questions and stuff like that. You can see
Yeah,
something
questions are
messing
good.
with the legs.
So this next picture is by MLP Hero, and it is first day returning to digital art. Just wanted some critique on my first piece in a while, although tips on lighting and shading would be most appreciated. Second page is what I took inspiration from. It's the Iron Maiden logo.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, drawing and stuff like that. Let's go.
One thing I've noticed a lot with your pieces is this reliance on the circle tool. I see you use that a lot, and one thing I just want to point out is that horse heads are not circular. They are not balloons. They will have some depth
Yes.
and different planes to them. So I would start looking at those different planes on the horse's face, little bumps and cheekbones and snouts that come off of them, instead of just using the circle tool. The circle tool can be a good base to start with,
Yeah,
but you're going to
absolutely.
make shapes off of that circle, not just use the circle.
Yeah. Especially the changelings, I feel like they always had a very like shapely sort of gaunt appearance to their skull shape, more so than the ponies do. But even then, we don't like our ponies to have beach ball heads, even though they do in the show. So it's because they have skulls and they have marshmallowiness on those skulls.
You might hear a lot of people be like, so you need to draw the perfect circle. You don't need to draw the perfect
No, you don't.
circle.
No one ever should say that ever. Why would you need to? Like just scribble the most misshapen circle you want for when you do like your under sketching of like a couple of circles connected in a line to make your head and body shapes. Just just do whatever circle. It doesn't need to be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Have fun.
Yes, have fun.
Have fun. Make it your own.
I see you with sort of drawing over as going a little bit more towards third quarter angle, which I think is a bit better looking. Yes.
So, looking at your background, one of the things I'm noticing is the texturing you've done in your bricks. This is actually an interesting lesson for for you comparing your references. So, in the original reference, the Iron Maiden album image, their entire background, the bricks, like this is a brick wall, so all bricks are aligned like yo, and then they are just separated like yo, like traditional brick walls. So it's horizontal with vertical separation or vertical offsets. Sorry. Yes, it's all horizontally aligned.
This
with
can be
vertical
solved by
offsets.
looking at a reference of a brick wall, basically.
Yeah, well, they have their original album art linked here.
Yeah, just
so on it has the separation. So when you're dissecting these images to try and pull them for references, Little details like that can be an easy trip up. One of the things I like to do to ensure that I try and minimize little slip ups like that, or little issues that would arise, is I will actually break down the image into multiple sections and work off little sections of it to make sure when I'm comparing it and referencing it and trying to call back to the original, that I'm pulling forth a bunch of those little elements, and hopefully it'll make the whole. I hope that makes sense. Anyone else have anything to say on this lovely picture?
No, I think you've given some pretty good points so far.
Yeah, I just have one small thing, and someone already's really drawn over it, but just remember the horn is probably going to be in front of the ears. The ears are going to be more directly behind the head, so just something to be careful of and think about when placing the pony. Because right now these are very much
Ears
right
look
next
like
to the
horns.
eye. These feel more like horns. Like if there's like 3 horns on this.
Yeah.
So you could, and next time put the ears behind the hair, and someone move the horn down, which is also a good option. But yeah, the horns can be behind or the ears can be behind the hair.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next picture. Look at this horse.
This horse is amazing.
So this one is by Seven Serenity. My girl, Icy Lightning, I doodled in class. First of all, bold of you for doodling this in class. Second of all, pay attention to class.
What song?
This is how some people pay attention sometimes.
Yeah. As an educational provider, we need to say pay attention in class.
Yeah, it's required adulting.
But good horse drawing. I drew a little bit of the tail between the legs because I think that if you follow like the curve along, it'll probably like intersect somewhere around there, roughly. Ish.
The big
There's a lot of
go for it.
There's a lot of like different shapes you can go to when it comes to the wings. You can see somebody here has done like this kind of shape. You could be like, do these kinds of sorts of things. But I think having like that right there kind of, because this is such like a almost relaxed pose, that kind of chucks off the stuff a little bit. So I'd probably like go something like, maybe make that like sticky outy bit like a tiny bit smaller or something along those lines, unless it's like a element of the character.
Mm-hmm. I was basically when thinking and regarding the wings, there's a layout the feathers take, and there's a few different types of birds with a few different types of layouts. Well, I recommend to try them all, but yeah, this part here, usually wings don't pop up as drastically as that for feather size. There might be a little bit of a decrease and increase. If like I were to draw a base wings, we got bone, and then feather. We have this section of the wing. This is just a very basic, simple shape version of a wing. And you'd have the feather, the feather, the feather, and then this cluster of feathers closer. So you can see there's kind of like a ridge, an arc to follow. So this kind of like disturbs that arc and feels less natural for a wing, even a straight up stretched wing. That's just 2 cents.
We don't have those anymore, so a dime or nothing.
Oh no.
I'm just doing a little bit of messing about with the tips of the what are these things called? Hooves? Yeah.
Yeah.
The tips of the hooves, and a little
Those
bit of
little
like
poopy
directional.
things.
Yeah. I'm always a fan of like, whenever I have the hooves, I'll like, have that little differently coloured part. Helps indicate the direction that they're facing and all that kind of sort of stuff.
The anterior boop stompers. Can that be the name?
Yeah, sure. Drawing the other ear is always fun. You can always do that sort of stuff. You can
This is a very
see
cool
the
picture.
hoof being lifted up towards the camera and being foreshortened.
Yeah, just I was just looking at it, and just because we have the both legs doing a little overlap, it'd be nice if we get a bit of difference in the front legs, because they are just sort of flopped off to the side, and a little bit of reach out, whatever. Just variation helps bring a bit more interest to the picture.
Yeah.
I would actually make this arm a little bit shorter, a little bit higher. But anyway. Anyone else have any... Oh.
Sorry, I do want to say, good job with this whole like area down there. It's a hard kind of like area to draw, and especially like with the overlaps and all that kind of sort of stuff, it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
I've tackled it fairly nicely. You can see another wave approaching it over there.
Allie's looks like it's walking down a runway.
The CPC.
Oh! Alright, CPC's looks like it's walking down a runway. But it wasn't fluffy. I couldn't understand that. Alright, shall we move on to our next lovely horse? There it goes. Now it's got a knife and fluff.
Yep. Next picture.
All right. Our last one submitted this week is by Mr. Brickawall. No, Mr. Brickwall. Not Brickawall. Oh, yeah, Mr. A. Brickwall. Not... Yeah. Anyway, we'll eventually get it right. Or I will. I don't know. The royal we. It's redesigning an OC. Hey, every pony! Took a stab at making a full scene instead of just a character. I wanted to add a bit more trees to make it look like a forest, but wasn't sure how without making it look overcrowded. Adding too many made it hard to tell made it hard to tell what they were when the character took up so much space on the screen.
Good job on messing with like a full picture and all that sort of stuff. Good job.
Very cool. I'd add maybe some more in the background, like in the distant background for trees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And stick a couple back there without it being too distracting.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because it's winter, they don't need to be bushy. They don't take up that sky.
Speaking of sky, maybe add a few clouds just to have a breakup in that blue back there, besides the sun ray.
Clouds, luckily, are super dang simple. Look at this. Look at it. I'm gonna rotate the canvas so it's easy to draw. But look at this. So when you're drawing MLP clouds, you can just have like a flat bottom. That's fine. That's all good.
Yeah.
And you just have like a couple of nice ones of these sorts of like things, and then what you do, here's the secret tip. You add like little tiny like curls inside of them, and then you have some premium MLP clouds. I hope everyone's enjoyed my impromptu clouds tutorial.
It was a great
Beautiful.
clouds tutorial.
Hell yeah. Looking at the show and messing about with like clouds and all that sort of stuff is fun. And you've got another one that's very simple over there. Hell yeah. You can see some other little bits and bobs that I've added around here. They don't need to be super detailed. They just need to sort of break up the monotony. Because when you've got like big areas of like not that much going on, it does draw the eye a little bit. So just breaking it up in little tiny ways sort of helps focus the eye back on your character. Something else that did stand out to me, you've got this little clasp thing here, but there's nothing for it to button onto. So you just add like a little tiny little button or something like that. Yeah, something. Hell yeah. Just a little something, and it fine. But this is super fun. I like the pose and all that kind of sort of stuff. This is a tough area to get, like the elbow. I'd say that reference can definitely help there. And there's a Proco tutorial on the bean, and it's all about when you've got like a you start off with like a simple kind of like, you know, shape, and then you have like the top half like curl around, and then like it focuses on like the main twisting points and all those sorts of stuff. And that tutorial will probably be pretty helpful in terms of working out how to get this elbow looking simpler and more readable in the future. People have been drawing all these awesome trees. Look at all these awesome trees. Super simple. Good job with the lighting on those. I saw those and I was just like, hell yeah, looks nice.
Lots of stuff in this picture looks nice.
Yeah.
It's very, very cute.
Boy, that looks pretty uncomfortable for the arms. So we can imagine the body is doing a bit of a twist, but it doesn't really make sense for how the shoulder or the artificial shoulder is. I mean, we have the one lowered, the one raised, but the problem I'm seeing with it is where this, or where the far arm is coming off in comparison to the other arm. So if we look at like where it's connected to the body, you have the side of the body going down here, and then this is like this coming off, but as opposed to being their forward arm that rotates. Oh, how am I putting this? Actually, it's the other one in contrast to that one that's really setting it off, isn't it? I don't know, it just feels off. Someone help my brain here.
Yeah, I think I could see the this close arm maybe coming over and doing something along those lines, and then having this like leg go a little bit more like behind, a little bit more like a not quite as spread out wide. I don't know. It's a fun, weird, strange pose. So there's always going to be like whenever you're like pushing a pose this far, there's always going to be like a bunch of different like tweaks and all that sort of stuff you can make. But yeah, it might be fun to just like do a page of different like poses, like crazy, interesting poses like this, and then to just play with them and do some life drawing practice based off like real animals and humans and all that sort of stuff. So I think you're on the right direction, absolutely. But just more practice would be good. Look at these amazing drawings. Look at all that.
So, about any other details or any other questions, comments, concerns? All right. Well, seeing as no other questions, comments, concerns, other art they want pelted at our face, and there's no one else actually viewing the stream right now, we're going to call it a day. So thank y'all for coming. We'll see you again next week.